Hello guys, welcome to the next episode of Late Friday Night's Banter Blitz. International Master Andrey Ostrovskiy is here. So, there are not so many challenges for newcomers today, but there are some. So I will start definitely with games against them. Just a sec, let me see my list of challenges. So, yeah. First newcomer. By the way, Hiladi, pay attention that I don't have a challenge from you, so just try to make a challenge again. Alright. So, knight f3, e6. What is that? Bishop f4, bishop g5, or just g3. Okay, so most likely we will have a Catalan very soon. Castles. C4. Yeah, just a Catalan. C6. Queen c2. So there are a lot of different approaches. It is possible to play this with the knight on c3, with the knight on d2. Sometimes white plays b3, sometimes white avoids this sort of protection of the c4 pawn. A lot of different methods. So for black it is more or less clear. Black plays b6, then the bishop goes to a6 or bishop b7. So after b3 I don't think that bishop a6 makes a great sense. It is still possible to play exactly this move, but let's put the bishop on b7. Bishop b2, and knight to a6 is okay. And knight to d7 is also okay. Let's try this knight a6 move. Just intending to put it on b4, maybe to challenge the queen at some point. At the same time, this move prepares c6, c5 move, so it's just all right. A3. Prevents knight b4, but rook c8. Just preparing c5, that's the idea. To counter-attack in the center. So now white is ready to play e4. And probably it makes sense for me to try c5, just preventing this e4 move. This activates my bishop, more or less. And also activates my rook. So interesting command from Shelin. So definitely Tivakov is one of the experts in this knight a6 line. Another interesting guy, Anton Kovalyov, if I'm not mistaken. He's also a great expert in Catalan with black. And in many cases he plays exactly knight a6. But I'm not sure that it is the best idea against knight c3 setup. So it definitely works fine against knight d2. Against knight c3 it is not that clear. Okay, so rook d1. There is a pressure in the center and potentially my queen might be in trouble. So what about just queen e8? Another typical flexible move here. Just going away from the d file. I'm not sure if it is good or bad. Let's just check it. Going away from the d file to prevent all the inconveniences connected with this potentially very active rook on the d file. So for example, after rook d1, white already had in mind something like d4 takes c5, then cd5, and maybe e4, something like that. Knight b5, attacking a7, and that is why probably this knight a6 is not that cool against knight c3. One of the reasons. So, what can I do? Of course, rook to a8 looks extremely ugly. I can try something like knight to c7. I think in this concrete position it should work. If a knight takes a7, then rook goes back to a8, attacking the knight, and if knight goes to b5, I just take it twice. Looks not that bad for black, and if there is an exchange on c7, then alright. Also not bad, so position is being a bit simplified. I guess everything will be just good for me. So I'll try. Just knight to c7. Very concrete move. There is nothing to do on a6 anymore. So why not to exchange this knight for this guy on b5, because this knight on b5 is very active, very annoying one. a4. Now I can even consider something like knight a6, knight b4, but my a7 is still hanging, so I actually have two choices, I guess, to take on b5 or to play a6. And I think that a6 is better, because taking on b5 gives white a chance to recapture with the a pawn, and then the a file is open, my a7 is under attack, so it doesn't look very comfortable. And after this exchange, if I didn't blunder anything, position looks very solid. cd5. So the first thing that comes to mind is to recapture with the bishop, just to avoid e4 or something, create a sort of c4 maybe. Yeah, I guess I will take exactly with the bishop. Now this bishop exerts some sort of pressure on b3, because look, this pawn became vulnerable after white played a4, so it's kind of important. So now what? Let's take here, check, and then now the rook will go to c8, I think. Very logical. Just activating all the pieces. Of course, now there is no pressure on b3. My bishop is no longer in d5. But still, I guess I'm a bit better developed. My pieces are quite good. The only problem is that white has no real weaknesses here, so it will be quite hard to achieve anything serious. Okay. Let's just make a move which may be useful later during the endgame. Another solid move, just to overprotect all the pieces, and maybe to come up with a b5 at some point. Right now, no. Now there is the problem with the knight. So let's solve the problem with the knight first. Okay. Knight on b4 looks good. About just f6 move. And e5 now. Limiting the bishop on b2, that is the main idea. And also creating strong point on d4, so maybe knight c6, knight d4, something like this is possible in the future. For example, right now. Okay. Let us come back. Oh. Serious blunder. Serious blunder. There's a checkmate very soon. Yep. Yep. I just blundered this check on d8. That was very bad. That was very bad. Because I had a feeling that I already had a better position. Maybe this knight c6 wasn't just in time. Yeah. So probably, I'm not sure. It was better for me to cover d6 square, or maybe even to play b5. Let's check the b5 here. So say b5, but it leaves a lot of pieces hanging. I don't like this idea just right now, because even something like knight e5 is possible there. Okay, so knight c6 looks okay. Then knight d6 takes d6, rook d6. Maybe this move was bad. Yeah, this doesn't look like a good idea. What about knight to d4? And knight d4 looks much better than knight to b4. But still, I'm not sure what is going on after, say, rook to d1. So knight on d4 is hanging now. There is a potential tactics connected with f5 move. Still doesn't look very convincing. So if I can't save my knight on d4, then everything is just bad for me. Don't know. Yeah, somewhere I made a mistake. Maybe this f6 e5 was not that good. Have no idea. So white could have won this position, that's for sure, after I made this blunder. I mean, on d8, this b5, just awful move. Rook d8, rook d8, queen f5, g6, queen f6, rook g7. I think something simple like bishop e5 should win the game easily. So with the extra exchange, an absolutely winning position. Yep. But of course we were both in a time trouble, so that, yeah. Yeah. Not a bad game. Not a bad game. But the final stage was just awful for black. Okay, so who's next? Who's next? From the newcomers, I mean, from those guys who never played with me before. This Spanish guy looks like that. So let's accept the challenge. Here we go. e4, e5. Knight f3, knight c6. And Ruy Lopez. So after all these not very successful experiments, I decided to come back to my normal opening repertoire. But there is no guarantee that I will score very well today. Castles. And my favorite Smyslov variation. Knight e2, bishop f8. There is nothing new. So I overprotect e5 and exert some pressure on e4. Also try to regroup my pieces a bit, to attack the center, and at some point to open up a position, because it's not that easy to keep position closed for a long time. So definitely black needs something active. And usually it is the c7, c5 undermining move that attacks the d4 pawn. There are also some interesting maneuver in addition to this c5 idea. For example, this a5, a4. Grabbing the space on the queen side, if white allows to do that, then placing the knight on a5 and then c5. But white doesn't want me to grab the space with the a4 move, which literally forces me to play b4. And c4, that is something strange, to be honest. So d5 was a normal move, then trying to take on b4 and trying maybe to exert pressure on this b4 pawn. But c4, this weakens dark squares a lot. That is the first drawback that comes to my mind. There is also a potential problem with e4 pawn. For example, if I take on d4, play b3, or play b3 first, then take on d4, e4 might be hanging, but at the moment it is probably not relevant. So what else? What can I do with this position? Never seen this before, to be honest. So in many cases I can even sacrifice this pawn on b3. It's much more important for me to grab something in the center, I guess. And let's try it. This is an interesting idea. White doesn't take, then the bishop is forced somewhere on the ugly position. And even if I don't regain the pawn after bishop takes on b3, I will have the open b file, and my rook will be active along this b file. I will control b4 square, so there will be definitely compensation. But I have a feeling that I can simply regain the pawn after this. So ed4, then knight takes e4, if white allows this, of course. But white wants to protect e4, and this looks like a natural move, natural idea. So now, what is next? Knight e5 is an interesting try, just attacking c4 pawn and confronting the knight f3. So if knight takes d4, I take c4. And there will be definitely a double-edged position. I can go crazy just to play g6, knight e4, knight e4, queen d4, bishop g7, simply sacrificing the pawn but trying to prove that I have a compensation because of this b file and long diagonal. Don't even know what to do. Knight b4 is also an interesting option. Just grabbing the Spanish bishop and having two bishops as a compensation. A lot of tempting things possible here. That's what I mean. So let's try this knight e5. It looks like the most solid thing. Yeah, just winning this pawn back. And still having this b file, so I'm not at risk. I mean, I didn't sacrifice anything here in this position. b3. Okay, let's put the knight in this not very good looking position, but from here this knight supports further movement of my pawns in the center. For example, c5, c4 now looks very interesting. Dynamic option, so let's try it. Maybe even d5 at some point, I don't know. Let us see. This position should be something like equal one, I think. Of course, black has some weaknesses, but white also has some vulnerable spots. And there is sort of activity that I have with my pieces. I don't know if it is enough or not. But usually it is a good thing if it is possible. White plays very solid chess. It's very hard to achieve anything. It's even hard to keep the position equal. So let's try to organize some sort of blockade here. I don't know if it is good or bad. I'll just try to do this. Some active operations. Oops, this drops the bishop. I'm very lucky. Thank you. But I'm in a big trouble. A ton trouble, I mean. So, I'm not sure if I will manage. But I will try. Let's just simplify a position. Oops. Somebody's calling. Sorry if you hear this. "28 seconds. But 3 pawns in White's camp are hanging simultaneously, which is nice. Well, I'll just damage my own pawn structure for the sake of simplification. And of course I want to exchange this knight, which is very annoying. Oops, I dropped the rook on b2. Okay, happens. So, just a tragedy of mistakes. Okay. Oops, one more. Okay. So White was the last who made a mistake. Well, awful game. I mean, a lot of mistakes from both sides. And I have a feeling that after b4 and c4, Black should have played something else, because I wasn't completely satisfied with the position I achieved. Well, probably b3 was too much. I don't know, maybe it was better for me just to take on d4, let's say. Simply exchanging all this. And then to play, again, something normal, like bishop to c6, probably intending something like knight d7, knight c5 maneuver, at some point activating the bishop f8. Maybe this was just a normal way of playing this position. I have no idea. So bishop c6, then knight d7, then g6, bishop g7, or even bishop e7, bishop f6 if it is possible. So the knight definitely belongs to c5 square here, exerting some pressure on a4. And if White plays b3 at some point, b3 will be also under attack. That's the point. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, let's continue. So, by the way, what is going on with the chat? Is it still live or not? Or is it just stuck? The next challenger, let's play one more newcomer. Let's see. Jose Anmar. Did we play? Yes, we played once. Norman 24. I've never played, so let's play. Again with Black. Yeah, so the story remains the same. So there are a lot of shows, a lot of episodes when I just play a lot of Black games in a row. Alright, e6. Bishop f4. So the correct order for the London system, right? So first knight f3, then bishop f4. works perfectly against this knight of 66 players. So now I don't have a chance to put my bishop on f5 or somewhere, which means I don't have this typical aggressive play with c5, d5, queen b6, and c4. It no longer makes sense with the bishop on c8. But still, I have some normal, decent continuations. e3, bishop b7. I think we can transpose the queen's indent, one of the lines that is not very dangerous for black. So let's try it. And what about just playing knight to h5? I know it is maybe not that cool in this particular case, but let's check it. I mean, I want to just grab this guy. h7 was hanging, so I just play h6 to protect it. And then, well, there are different ways of completing the development here, but then d6, knight e7, knight f6 looks fine. White is going to play e4, of course, I understand. So what about d5? d5 is a bit risky, but also worth considering. In this case, we will achieve something like French defense, after all. So what is better for me? Maybe just to play c5, knight c6. That is also the way of playing these positions. Let's try it. Castles. Okay, now knight c6 looks even more logical. Yeah, the chat is logging today. What the hell? It's not being updated for, I have no idea, 7 minutes already on my side. Wow. Still try to refresh. But I don't think it will work. Okay, g4 is still not a threat. If g5, I just take with the bishop. And I guess this gives me a chance just to put my knight on b4, which looks very, very good. Because if I will give... Well, if I will manage to grab the bishop, that is what I was trying to say. Then I guess white's attack won't be that dangerous any longer. But there is also very simple threat of grabbing this a2 pawn, which might be also quite annoying for white. Okay. b5, bishop takes b5, knight takes a2, king b1, knight goes back to b4. Position becomes crazy. There is also a possibility just to play d5 here. But then bishop b5 check. Let's try exactly this. Yeah, the chat is dead. Well, very pity. But I still hope you are watching me live. And I wanted to try this crazy move, king f8. So I have a feeling that there might be something connected with this bishop b5. So I'm going to try this a6 counterattack. Bishop a4. What about just b5? Another active move. Oh, seriously? Okay. Just giving me a piece for nothing. That is strange. And now I think there is also a problem with the queen. So bishop a6. Where the queen goes? To a4. And bishop c4. Just trapping it. Nah, I guess it will be just winning. Yeah, bishop c4 just finishes the game, I think. If I'm not mistaken. It doesn't look like I'm mistaken here. Position is pretty much clear. Okay, extra queen. Can't be bad. Okay, so queen a1 forces knight to b1, and then what? Bishop a2, king d2. Have no idea, queen takes b2. Looks absolutely winning, so let's try that. Aha, this is also the move, of course. But I'll just take on b4. Yeah. So the only problem is my passive rook on h8. It's not a big problem though. So I can activate it easily in a couple of moves. Just g6, king g7, rook c8, and that's it. All the pieces are in the game and I have enormous extra material. Just a queen for the rook. Yeah, makes no sense to play this any longer. So I think that in fact white could have avoided all these problems with the help of c3 move at some point. It's a very typical move for this pawn structures, for this opening setup. So takes h6, queen e2, preparing e4. By the way, e4 was possible immediately, right away. This is also a good idea, just to occupy the center, right? There is nothing wrong with this. After queen e2, c5, I guess that c3 is better. And after castling, for me, it is also better maybe to start with cd4. I don't know. Knight c6 also looks very natural, and after g4, knight b4 as well. So, I mean, it's not necessary for white to give me a chance to play like this. So it's better to play c3, king b1, and then at some point g4, g5. So you shouldn't be in a hurry. You can do it almost on every move, right? So it was better to care about some safety of your bishop, because bishop plays in fact very important role here. So it controls a lot of squares, and when the position on the king side will be opened, this bishop will be very important attacking piece. That's what I mean. All right, so now let's go back to the normal order of challenges. Don William was the first challenger today, so I will play Don William right now. Here we go. And Sicilian defense. I can't see any updates in chat still. yeah, like 14 minutes without updates. It's very bad. Okay, let's come back to bishop c4 move. I haven't played this for a long time against Najdorf players. So let's see what Don William is going to do here. Please, somebody send me the personal message. Like, is it really a problem for each and everybody? I mean, the chat, or it is only my problem for some reasons. I don't know. Yeah, let me know, please. b5 is very rare continuation here, mainly because of this bishop d5. As far as I remember, rook a7 is playable, but extremely ugly. And here, there is the point. So, the weakness of the c6, the general lack of space in black's position makes white's chances higher. Okay, how to react to this g6 correctly? After e5 e-file is open, so it is a good idea for me just to start the attack along the e-file. Let's say castles, bishop g7, rook e1, followed by bishop g5. Looks like a very natural plan. There is also a possibility to play h4, h5, of course, but I don't have a light squared bishop to weaken my light squares this way. So I would prefer castling. So castles, then rook to e1, why not? And then bishop to g5. Just attacking e7 pawn. There is also a good idea for me just to play queen d2, bishop h6, exchanging this dragon bishop. But after rook e8, of course, it is complicated. What else can I do? I think a3 should be played for sure, just to prevent b4. Because black will probably play bishop b7, targeting my d5 pawn. And then b4 will be a threat. So a3 kind of useful prophylaxis. And bishop f5, okay, so I don't think it is a good idea, because this weakens black's pawns a lot, and I definitely want to try to use it. Yeah, still no updates in chat. Very pity. So how to attack this pawn correctly? From d3 or from f3? Or even just queen h5, followed by something like rook e3 and rook h3. Let's check. So queen h5, say knight e7, rook e3 and knight f8. So there is a defense. Okay, so I'll start with this move then. Just attacking f5. f6, wow. This weakens black's position even more. And it doesn't really solve the problem with the f5 pawn, I guess, because I will have rook e6 move. So let's just go away with the bishop. So if queen d7 or queen c8, I just play rook e6 and then I can grab this pawn anyways. And I will do this. Yeah, this is a great hold in black's position. So rook on e6. Of course, the best scenario is to have the knight there, but rook is also not that bad. Okay, let's take the pawn. Aha, that is what I missed. Yeah, great blunder, but still I think because of this very bad bishop on g7, I have great winning chances. So let us just activate the pieces. Let us just activate the pieces. Creating the outpost for the knight. So knight is going to d5. Just like this. Yeah, it looks like it was better to play rook to d1 instead. Alright, this is also not that bad. All this setup looks very promising. It's very hard to find an active counterplay for black, to be honest. Something like queen c4 followed by rook c5, but I guess I will just meet it with the bishop e3, controlling c5 square. And then I will maneuver my bishop to d4, just to control everything in this position. Now, do I have rook e3 followed by rook g3, kind of straightforward attack? I think it should be good. I have no idea. Let's take this first. Then rook g3. I think queen g4 leads to a checkmate. Next move. There is no defense. Yeah, it's lost. So actually it was lost already after f6 move. So this f6 is very bad. So this makes the on bishop g7 absolutely passive until the rest of the game and until the rest of the life. So forever bad. Also bishop f5 looks already like a dubious decision to me. So instead I would have played something like bishop b7, queen c7, knight e7. So I would have tried just completing the development somehow. There is also a chance to start with something like queen b6, attacking my knight d4, maybe forcing me to come back with the bishop to e3, and then queen goes to c7. So there is no pressure against e7 now, and black can do what he wants. Well, actually, black is a bit restricted, but there are still a lot of different ways of regrouping the pieces. Knight e7 followed by knight f6, or if my knight goes to c6 at some point, then knight e7, knight e5 becomes a good idea. So it was just a normal playable position. Maybe, yeah, some inconveniences are present, but it's not a big deal. So But this bishop f5 gives me a lot of chances, so it creates serious weaknesses in black's position. And the same is true for f6. f6 is just a catastrophe. All right, let's go further. The next is Schelling with a great rating of 2700. So for this game, I have to be really focused. And it's possible to do because there is no chat. It's really pity, but there are also some advantages. But maybe it will get back to life very soon, at least I hope so. Yeah, still dead. Okay. So we continue, I think, our dispute. I don't really remember from which episode. From the previous one or the one before the previous one. But still, I recall that it was already played by my opponent against me. And in this game, as we can see, I try a different approach. So I just put my bishop on a6 instead of b7 and the knight on d7 instead of a6. Okay. It's a typical Catalan. The only thing is that usually the bishop is on d2, so we can achieve the same type of positions with the bishop b4, bishop e7 maneuver, and the bishop on d2 gives black kind of extra tempo to improve his pieces before getting to this central operations. Yeah. So here I think white has some annoying things, but definitely knight e2 is not one of them. In my opinion, it was better to try knight e5 or something, but I might be wrong. Okay. What about just simplifying the position? I mean, just to take on b3 first, then to take on e2, and after queen e2 just to play something like a5. So in this case I will have extra pawn. Okay, my opponent will have a pair of bishops. But I don't think it should be necessary to think that well, white has a dangerous attack because of that, or a great compensation or something. So I have a feeling that I can manage it. So let's take it. Let's try. I know it's maybe not the best way of playing this, but it's worth checking. Maybe it makes sense. So at least now I fixed the vulnerability, the weakened pawn b3. I also created kind of outpost, maybe for my bishop on b4, maybe for other pieces, I have no idea. Let's see. I guess d5 is coming at some point, so let's prepare for this d5 mainly. Because I don't think that e5 is very dangerous for me. I guess I'm okay. And I'm just trying to improve positions of my pieces. So, for example, queen to e7. I have some problems with the space here, as we can see. So I'm just trying to solve those problems. Okay, if e5, then knight e5. So e5 is not very dangerous to me, I guess. But what can I do here? If I play c5, there will be something typical like d5, ed5, and then e5. Might be not very pleasant. Okay. Let's protect a5 pawn, intended maybe even to play b6, b5. Just getting rid of this knight on c4. g4. White goes all in. White goes all in. Maybe it's a good idea, maybe not. But I definitely have to do something because there is no space for my pieces. So first of all, let us clarify the situation with this knight. Okay, knight goes to e3. Now what? What can I do? c5 is what I definitely want to do in this position, but then g5 might be annoying. Well, it is possible to do something passive, like knight f8, and if g5, I just take on g5, and knight goes to d7, then maybe knight g6, yeah. I will try to come up with some sort of counter-attack at some point, because all this looks very dangerous, but at the same time, it is a weakening of the own position. So it might backfire, that's what I mean. Let's see if I'm right. But it is definitely a great risk for black. No questions. Because I just gave white a lot of space. Just enormous. Enormous amount of space. Okay. Aha. I have a feeling that at some point I can even try something like knight takes f4. Maybe even right now. Isn't it possible? It looks very tempting. But first, I want to undermine the center. Maybe I will do something without sacrifices. But no, definitely it will be necessary to sacrifice something here. Okay. Let us centralize the pieces. Position is absolutely crazy. Absolutely. I counterattack in the center, but it might be not enough. It might be not enough. Looked just tempting, so I decided to do this. Moreover, there is a ton trouble, so it's better to play some concrete chess. Okay, I have to take, right? Yeah. Still looks very interesting. So I have kinda 3 pawns, right? And the king is exposed, so there should be sort of compensation. I don't know, what about this check? Maybe not the best square. Another check. King now occupies a very bad position, but I have no time. That is really annoying. Yep. That should be very good for black, but I simply have 7 seconds, so most likely I will lose it. Oh, come on, 95 checkmate. My goodness, only 1 second, 95 checkmate. Oh, very pity, but okay. I should have been faster before. But 95 just checkmates, right? Right. Okay. So instead of king g4, of course, it was necessary to play something like this. But then I also have something like bishop e1, which should be winning for me because after king g4, 95 checkmate. Oh, well, yeah, checkmate because after king h5, queen h3. And if rook takes e1, then just takes here, takes here, takes here with a decisive material advantage. Okay, okay. So I managed to outplay my opponent, but I was just too slow. And the chat is dead, right? Or is it live again? Let's see. No, it's still dead. Okay. Forget about it. The next is Formless. Formless. The guy who defeated me. And what is that? It's the same avatar like Shelly. Or no, it's just a mistake. So Formless definitely has another avatar. But there is just something wrong technical in chess 24 today. Okay, so let's see what is there. Italian, most likely. Okay, castles, knight of 6, d3. Okay. Let us just play Italian. Just a typical setup. I develop all my pieces and try to exchange this guy on c4. What about b5 now? b5 looks like a typical thing. Exploiting the pin along g8, a2 diagonal and potentially even creating sort of bishop f2 if white takes. Don't know. But it looks very tempting to stop white's b4, b5. Yeah, it should be just alright for black. Rook a2. Now I'm very tempted just to play d6, d5. But it might be a mistake. So d5, e5, let's say queen d5, knight e5, ab5, ab5, something like knight e4. You know, then bishop goes somewhere, then rook goes to a1. But I will also have an interesting outpost on a4 after all. Let's try d5. Can't be that bad. By the way, after ed5 I can even take with the knight. I'm not forced to take with the queen. Maybe with some potential attack on the king side. I don't know. We'll see. ed5. So to take with the knight or to take with the queen? That is the question. Let's just try to play this sort of endgame, but first I have to understand what is going on after c4. So queen d5, c4, bc4, dc4. This looks unclear, absolutely. So maybe, yeah, maybe knight takes d5 is better, but then also c4, but then I have knight f4. Okay, let's take with the knight. The position is very interesting. I have a weakness on c5. White also has some vulnerable spots, like, say, d3 pawn, potentially maybe c3 pawn, and so on. So who's better? I have no idea. Maybe white. Maybe I. Well, I just want to clarify the things with this a pawn. So ab5, ab5, okay. Who's calling me? Alright. Sorry for this noise, again, if you hear it. So now there is no longer, it's no longer possible to speculate this exchange on b5. So we already clarified the things with this file. And I'm going just to put my bishop on b6 at some point, and then to focus on the play on the king side maybe. Okay, so maybe bishop b6 right now, because I don't think that c4 is a threat at the moment. Then I just take on b4. Yeah, let's play bishop b6. I have to be faster now because only 1 minute and 30 seconds. There's already a very annoying time trouble. Very annoying time trouble. No. 26, 27. Right, there is a problem. There is a problem. Don't know what to do. Don't know what to do with this pawn on e5. Yeah, I'm just losing on time here. Come on. Maybe it was too much, right? Just to play this b5 and d5 in the combination. I don't know. Yeah. Now I have no time, simply have no time to do anything. And position is not that cool, honestly. Two ideas, right? To take on h6 and to checkmate me with the queen g7. Yeah, absolutely lost. Absolutely lost position. Okay, second defeat from this guy. Yeah, very good play. Well played. Very good game. Okay, next challenger is Kramnik student. Accept. So today I will just play something normal. Yeah, Ruy Lopez again. And exchange variation, which I usually meet with the queen f6 move. All right. I'm just developing my pieces like this way. And there is a weakness on f5, which I will use one day. But at the moment I'm curious if I can just take on c2. Is it a move or not? White should be bad, I don't know. Knight to h4, knight to f5. Okay. Let's just take it. b2 is hanging. Yeah, knight f5 is coming or something like that. But maybe it's a trap. I have no idea. Knight e7 is hanging at the moment. So definitely have to spend the time on protecting it. And I will do this. I still have g6 square. There is a threat of queen e7 now. So Kramnik student is very tricky today. And now what to do? To put the bishop on e6, then queen takes b7. So should I play h6 here? Should I play h6? Let's try h6. Just preparing queen to h7 at some point. First of all, I have to solve the problem with this queen on b4. It is really annoying. Alright, so let us attack it. But this guy is still here. This guy is still here. So queen c4 followed by queen b4. Bishop g4 followed by I don't know what. Bishop f5. Oh, this looks very bad. So I will just play this move, which at least looks more or less solid. Yeah, grabbing that pawn was too risky. Too risky. But if I will survive it, I will be a pawn up. I guess I have not that bad chances to survive it. Oh, chat is back. Chat is back. Whew, very nice. Very nice. Rook d4. Not sure if it is the best continuation. Not sure. What about queen e6 here? Yeah, knight f6 was great. I was actually afraid of knight to d6. And then I realized that knight f6 is even better. So this is not very dangerous. At least I hope so. Still a lot of problems, of course, with the development and this sort of things. Oh, still very annoying position, very annoying. A lot of attacks here. Yeah, but I guess I'm very close to solving my problems. Very, very close to that. Okay, I can just take on h4. Protecting everything and having extra minor piece. And queen to b4. Yeah. True. It was very, very risky attempt. And white played quite good until this moment with the rook d4. Rook d4, I think, was not that cool. So instead of rook d4, so just a second, let's go to this position. Yeah. Instead of that, knight f6 was just very strong. G takes f6, E takes f6, and look at this. My knight is pinned. Of course, I have this bishop e6 move, f takes e7, but I have a feeling that with these great weaknesses on the king side, it will be very hard for me to survive it. I can, of course, grab even a2 pawn. I can even grab e7 at some point. But I have a feeling that white will have a chance to start attacking my weaknesses on the king side. So all the pieces are very good developed and mobilized already. So queen e3, queen h6 is one maneuver, for example, against this queen e3, attack in h6. And then rook goes through d4 to h4 or something like that. This looks very dangerous. So yeah, knight f6 was definitely a move, was definitely a possibility for white to grab the initiative finally. For sure, I mean, for real. Okay. Let's go further. Möbius. Accept. Okay. So I've lost 2 games today, right? Not that bad. So it's definitely better than the previous show where I managed to lose 4. So the day of Rui Lopez. A lot of Spanish games today. It's a typical maneuver. Knight goes to b6 and then c5. After a4, okay. Let's play c5. So now, of course, my knight won't go to b6, rather on a5. When it will be attacked by b2 pawn. Because now if it goes to b6, then after a5, it will be very passive. And knight to a5. So now it makes sense to go back to a5 because after a4, b3 became weakened. And I should be somewhere here, just exerting some pressure. Okay. This is one of the ways to play this position. Now there is a typical maneuver of, say, queen c7, rook c8, and queen d8. Just to connect the rooks. Okay, so let's try to fight for, I don't know, a file maybe. There's also a plan. Say this way. Okay, about the next training Tuesday. That's a very interesting question. I didn't decide. Which topic to cover. So, maybe you will suggest some. What do you think about it? Okay, so now I have active rooks. But how to utilize this? There is, of course, a possibility just to play in the normal way, like, I don't know, g6, bishop g7, but it's better, of course, just to activate my bishop somehow. So bishop e7, knight h7, bishop g5 is a typical maneuver here. c3 looks also kind of vulnerable a bit, so maybe it makes sense for me just to attack it, but it is easily protected, so I just start activating my bishop. It's very bad, right? So let's say this way. Okay. The rook is forced away from the first rank even. But I will come back there sooner or later. Right now I want to do something with my dark squared bishop, so. Or maybe just to maneuver my knight through f8 to g6 and then to f4. That is also the way to play this. Okay, so c4. Yeah, why not? This move just closes the queen side, but at the same time, it also just makes the bishop b2 very passive, so there are some advantages of playing this. Alright, this probably forces me to go back. Or maybe I'll just put my bishop on g5 and exchange it. Or maybe even bishop d8 followed by, I don't know, even queen c8, bishop b6. Also looks very interesting. I don't know which is better. Which idea is better? Let's put it on g5. I don't know. This looks just okay. Just okay. But after g3 move, of course, it no longer looks that okay, so I will be forced to exchange the guy. Maybe it makes sense to do it immediately. Oh, seriously, that is something new. And maybe even something promising to me. To take this knight or not to take? Let's take it, let's see. Maybe it was a wrong idea, maybe completely wrong one. Yes, this position is very, very, how to say, boring to play. So I have some maneuvers, of course, but I don't think I will achieve anything. So it is absolutely closed. Absolutely closed. Let's just try to achieve something. Okay. Oh, 19 seconds. That is a great problem today, but the extra queen. Yeah. Alright, so just a few blunders and I won. In fact, I achieved nothing. And I do think that white was even better at some point. Yeah, but I guess it's not really necessary to give up the A file this way. So instead, it is better just to complete the development of the pieces, so just to play bishop e3 here, prior to playing knight e2. Knight e2 is of course a typical move, but I guess it's better just to put the bishop on e3 first, and then knight goes to d2. It looks logical, and white has a chance to fight for the A file, not to give up this file so easily. That is the point. Okay. Next challenger is Smugs. So let's play Smugs. And it will be the last game today, because I have to sleep well this night, because tomorrow there will be the final stage of the German Team Cup in Blitz. So our team goes to Herford, and we will be playing all day long. So I need a lot of power. A lot of power, so that I need to sleep well. Everything is interconnected in this life. A6. Okay, bishop f1, protecting e4. Bishop g4, okay. Where the bishop goes? To d7 maybe. Yeah. So the main idea is just to put the knight on d5 at some point. Maybe right now. Let's try it. There might be even the transposition to Marozzi bind. Look at this. For example, if black doesn't take on d5 right now, I can consider something like c4 at some point. But okay. Knight f6, bishop f6, queen d6, bishop e5, queen goes back to, d2 probably to control dark squares, queen h4, and f4, something like this. Bishop takes f4, queen e1. Well, this might be kind of trick, but g3 should be okay for me, at some point. Yeah, this should be all right. Okay, let's take it. Let's take this pawn. Today I'm a bit greedy. I was almost punished by Kramnik student in our game for this grabbing pawns approach. But I don't think I will be punished in this game. Because, well, it just doesn't look like Black has enough compensation for all this. And if bishop goes to e7, I don't think that Black has a compensation at all. So on the bishop e5, promise Black something. This bishop e7 is just too passive, but it probably, well, it is probably a trap, right? So if I play queen g3, then bishop h4, and it is completely justified. But I don't want to put my queen on g3. But to be honest, I was about to do this, then realized this bishop h4 is possible. Okay, so let's just go back to initial position. Just making some prophylactic moves. I'm not sure if I really needed them, but this makes my position safe, at very least. So I have an extra pawn, but I also have some weaknesses. For example, d3 square is potentially weak. f3 is already weak. So I have to be careful. I have to be very careful here. And the best thing I can do is just activating all my pieces. Say rook to d1, and then we will see. Yeah, and if there is a possibility just to simplify position, then I think I should do it. Let us start with this move. And then rook d1. Or knight a5, I don't know, let's see. Knight a5 is also an option. So let's calculate. Knight a5, queen b5, c4, queen takes b6, queen b6, bishop c5, queen c5, rook c5. I can do the same actually with the a pawn. So knight a5, queen b5, a4. And if queen b6, bishop c5, takes c5, rook c5, knight b7, rook c7, knight goes back to a5 or goes to d6 with 2 extra pawns for me. And already an endgame stage. So knight a5, queen b5, a4, queen to e5 maybe. But I managed to win a lot of tempi, so I think it is an interesting idea. If queen d3, then rook d1. Maybe rook d1 was just better than knight a5. I don't know. But this definitely leads to some simplification this or that way. I guess it's better for me to take the bishop. Yeah. Knight b7 and rook b5. So knight b3 simply. Just the endgame with the extra pawn. And now with the extra minor piece. I am first to deliver a checkmate or win a lot of material. Alright, so it was a decent game until e6 move. I think e6 is playable, but not necessary in this position. So it's better to play something like rook c8, intended to take on d5, then knight e5, knight c4, something like this. So it is kind of one of main lines, main directions in this opening setup, with inclusion of f3 move. So it's kind of good idea to play bishop g4 and then to come back to d7. So you just weakened my position a bit, and this gives you some extra opportunities connected with queen b6 check and various lines. Yeah, but the main direction is just to take on d5 at some point and to play knight e5, knight c4. So for this purpose, you need the rook already on c8. That's the point. Okay, so thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this a bit strange evening. So actually, I tried my best to improve my play compared to the previous show, and maybe I succeeded a bit. So I actually lost less, but on the other hand, I played less as well. So not sure if I improved, and there was also a problem with chat or something. So for the first time, by the way, so there were some episodes when the chat was just lagging a bit, really just a bit, but it was for the first time when it stopped working for, I don't know, 40 minutes or something like this. But anyways, thanks a lot. So the next week will be without the Banter Blitz show from me. So it will be only the Tuesday, Training Tuesday, so for premium members, again, because of Norway Chess. And starting from the week after that, we will come back to normal schedule, so Tuesday and Friday, just as usual. So wish you all the best during this coming weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.